Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Jo here. I hope you're all well. So for today's project, I'm actually using some supplies that were sent to me by one of my subscribers. Kate, hello Kate, thank you so much. I received a box of stuff from Kate at the weekend. She had to sort through her craft supplies and anything that she didn't want, she put in a box and sent to me. And I was so inspired that I actually wanted to make something out of the stuff that was in the box. So when I started this project, I had a very loose idea of what I wanted to achieve. But the stuff that was in the box is some leftover bits from a doll's house that Kate's been doing up. So I knew that I wanted to do something with brickwork and have a window frame. So that's where I started off. I built a window frame and I'm using one of the canvases from Poundland, and I'm just going to trace around that now so I know where the centre is. I'm going to measure it all out and then draw around the outside and the inside of the frame. And then this is what I'm going to use as my base for my piece of art. So now I've got my template, I can use some of the little clay bricks that were sent in the box, and there was a huge bag of these and I'm really excited to use them. So now I'm just going to start by gluing these to the canvas, and I'm going to do a brick wall. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. And then now that I've got my frame in the center, I know where not to cover. I can go over the outer line because that'll be where the frame will be stuck down. But I can't go over the line that's on the inside, as you'll be able to see through the window. So I'm just going to use some hot glue. I'm going to glue these down and I'm going to stagger them and then cut them to the size that I need to fit them in the sides. Just using a craft knife to do that, and yeah, I'm just going to continue to do this until I've filled the whole canvas except from the bit in the center, and then we can get on to the next part. And here is the brickwork finish. So I'm going to continue to work on it by painting next. I'm going to paint the frame black and I'm going to do the brickwork in dark grey to start off with. Now I'm using some paints that were in the box that Kate sent, and these are oil paints. It's the first time I've ever used oil paints in my life, and I learnt my lesson very quickly. I didn't know that oil paints take days to dry depending on the quality of the paint. I painted these on Saturday, and yesterday, which was Tuesday, was the first time that they were actually dry. So it took quite a while for them to dry. Oil paints dry with oxygen in the air, so, and a bit of humidity, whereas obviously with acrylic paints you can get your hair dry out and you can speed up the drying process. But I loved the coverage of the oil paints. I only had to do one coat, and normally in acrylics I do 2 or 3, but yeah, the drying time is a lot longer than acrylics. I will use oil paints in the future, but on projects that I don't need to dry very quickly. But yeah, that's my lesson learned, and we'll continue to carry on with the project. So I'm just making sure that I fill in all the gaps and there's no white showing through with the dark grey. This is just black and white oil paint mixed together, and I'm just going to cover the whole of the brickwork in this grey before working on the next lot of colours. So here it is all painted grey, and now I'm going to start to add layers of paints. So I'm just using a washing up sponge, and I'm going to start with a darker red, and I'm just going to use this to dab it all over the grey. Now this is obviously still wet and I really like the way that it mixed together, and I'm going to do a dark red and then I'm going to layer more paint on top. I'm going to do like different colours of oranges and browns and different shades of reds until I get the colour of the bricks that I want, and we can then start to work on the window frame. So using some black card that was also in the box, I'm going to work out where I want my windows to be, and I just want 2 windows at the top. So I need to create the frame in the inside. I'm measuring 1/2 centimetre strips of card. I'm going to glue 2 together just to make them a little bit thicker. and then I'm going to glue them in place at the top of the frame so that I've got a large window at the bottom and then two smaller windows at the top. And here we go. So now I'm going to put some acetate in the windows, and I'm just using the top of a box that had some Christmas decorations in. I'm going to measure the square at the bottom, and then I'm going to measure two small squares, and I'm going to glue the big square in and one of the windows in, and I'm going to leave one out because I want to have one window open. So I've glued two in, left one out, and now I'm going to create a frame around the last piece of plastic, and then we can glue that into the window. I'm going to have to put little pieces of card around the outside of the piece of plastic. So I did them the same length as I did the window frame on the inside. And now I'm just going to glue that in at an angle using some hot glue. And then I'm going to use two little pieces of card that are glued together, and I'm just going to glue that underneath the open window so it'll stay open. And that's the window frame. So just to finish off, I'm going to use some grey, and I've switched to acrylic paints now. I'm just going to use some grey acrylic paints, and I'm just going to lightly dry brush around the outside of the window frame just to give it a little bit more dimension so it doesn't look too flat, and give it a little bit of a weathered look as well. And once the frame is dry, I'm going to glue it to the canvas. So here is the brickwork and the window frame, and now I can get onto the fun bit. I've been waiting to do this for days, but I'm using some flock. This is from the Model Scenery Suppliers, and I think it's .co.uk. I know they're UK based, and I've got some in dark green and some in light green. And now I'm just using a stick and some PVA glue, and I'm just popping the glue where I want to put my flock or moss, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on top and then shake off the excess in a little while. So I'm just going to add some dark green and some light green in different places on the brickwork, and then I'm going to add some around the window frame, and I might actually put some on the plastic as well. So I'm just going to have some fun for a little while, and I'm going to keep adding this until I'm happy with how much is on there. And then I'll show you what it looks like when I've finished. So here we are. I'm really happy with how it's looking. I could have put so much more on this, but I didn't want to cover all the bricks. And now, just to seal it all in so it doesn't keep falling off, I'm just using a mixture of PVA glue and water, and I'm just putting this over everywhere that I've put the moss. And it would have been a lot easier if I had like an eyedropper or a little bottle that I could squirt it on or drip it on, but I'm just using a paintbrush to do this. So I'm going to let it dry. And it's still a little bit wet, but while that's drying, I'm going to use some black acrylic paint and just paint around the outside of the canvas just to finish it off. So the paint is dry around the outside, the moss is still drying, but while it's still wet, I'm going to do some weathering. So this is just black acrylic paint mixed with water, and I'm just going to dab this on with a paintbrush and then use some kitchen roll to take off the excess. And I'm just going to paint over the bricks in different places where it could do with a little bit of weathering. And I'm just going to repeat the process until I'm happy with how it's looking. So anywhere where there's a large gap where I've not put any moss, I'm just going to add some of this diluted acrylic paint. And just to finish off the window frame, I'm using some sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand the plastic so that it looks old and damaged. And I'm going to do that on all three pieces, so the whole window frame will be sanded. And here we are. So I'm really happy with the front now. I don't want to add any more to it or do anything with it. So I'm just going to pop this to one side and I'm going to start to work on the back. I'm just measuring my window frame so I know how big I need to cut the back piece. And I'm going to start to do that now. So I'm just using an old cardboard box. I could have used the cardboard box that Kate sent, but it's got all the stuff in it, so I'm just using one that I've got. But I'm just measuring the piece that I need for the back. I want it to be a couple of inches larger at the top and bottom than the window frame. And I'm just going to trace this out and then use a pair of scissors to cut it out. And then I need to create some side pieces. So to put my candles in, I want to make sure that the piece that the candles are going to be sitting on is larger than the candles, and it worked out about 5 centimeters. So I'm now going to measure 3 strips that are 5 centimeters wide by the length and the height of the cardboard square that we've already cut out, or rectangle. So we're going to have a bottom and a top and one side so that I can get the candles in the back. I'm using some scrapbook paper. This is out of my stash and I'm going to use this for the cardboard. I'm going to cover the ceiling bit with some of the scrapbook paper, and then I've covered the side, but I've actually just ripped it slightly to give a worn look, and then I'm just going to cut a little bit and stick it in the corner to finish that bit off. I'm not going to put any paper on the flooring bit. I'm just going to paint that black. And then for the back bit, the larger piece, I'm going to measure 3 panels of wallpaper. So I'm just checking the size of my piece of cardboard, and I'm going to divide that by 3 and cut 3 strips. And now I've got my 3 strips. I've stuck one on each side, and I'm just going to tear the one in the center and glue it in place with a little bit hanging down as if it's falling off the wall. And then I'm just going to glue that little piece that's ripped like so. And then I'm going to paint the bottom black, and I'm going to paint the bits in that you can still see of cardboard in white. And then I'm going to use the black acrylic paint and water mixed, and I'm going to make the paper look old and aged. And then I'm going to glue all this together with a glue gun. So I'm going to put the bottom on, the top on, and the side on. And then once it's all glued together on the outside of the little box that we've created, I'm going to paint it black acrylic paint just to hide the cardboard. And then once that's dry, I'm going to glue it to the back of our canvas. And then the last thing to do is pop the candles in. So I've left the side open so you can get the candles in and out and you can turn them on. And here it is. So I learned a lot by doing this. I've never used oil paints before. I've never done brickwork before, so it was really fun to give it a go. I absolutely love the results. So thank you, Kate, so much for sending me the box of supplies. I will use them throughout my craft videos. I'm sure I will. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, everybody. And yeah, I hope it's given you some ideas. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you leave a comment, I will reply. And if you're not subscribed and you want to see more from me, then it'd be wonderful if you joined our family and friends. And I will be back tomorrow with a Poundland haul to show you all the different things that I've picked up to go into my crafting, and there's a lot of it. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of stuff, and I've got charity finds as well. So yeah, really happy. So take care, see you tomorrow, and have a nice evening. Bye for now.